Star Wars is on the brink of failure. This headline has been plastered on almost every news source for the last months, even years. And we can see why. It's easy to jump on the bandwagon of criticism when we see a ship going down. But what takes more thought and care is making real suggestions for how our favorite franchise can be saved. Let's see if there's a way to answer this question. We've already made a video discussing certain improvements that Disney should make in its movies and series. But today, we'll look at aspects more focused on the creative process, which is just as important for new projects. There has been a lot of debate about the Padawan of George Lucas. Dave Filoni became well known to Star Wars fans because of his work on the Clone Wars series. When the show started, it was created and supervised by George, and Dave was his second in command. Along the way, he learned George's vision and ideology for the franchise. After George sold the company, Dave continued and even finished the show, picking it back up after its renewal, and even expanding one of George's last idea about the Bad Batch into its own spin-off, continuation show. The stories in those shows were heart-wrenchingly beautiful and taught the lessons we're so used to learning from Star Wars. Since then, Dave has been promoted as the Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm, which allows him to be part of the creative process much earlier on when new projects are started. In short, he has decision-making ability for many projects now, instead of just the ones he's personally writing or directing. With this power, he's made decisions that have been cause for celebration for many fans, such as the return of Anakin Skywalker and Grand Admiral Thrawn. But he's also contradicted books that were established as canon before his projects were released, such as Ahsoka's story in the immediate aftermath of the Clone Wars, and Asajj Ventress surviving Force lightning that had previously ended her life. He also signed off on The Acolyte, which altered canon that was established in George's prequel trilogy. So while Dave has first-hand knowledge of the saga's lore and original creator's vision, he's not exempt from making mistakes. Moving forward, it'd be better for Lucasfilm to listen to his ideas, polish those ideas, and then move on with the project. But only after a team of people examines the canon. Those who are more aware of what goes on behind the scenes will be familiar with the name Pablo Hidalgo, who is the head of the continuity team in the franchise.
I don't want to work.
Unfortunately, it seems that he's focused more on justifying inconsistencies in the canon of new projects, rather than making sure those inconsistencies don't happen to begin with. It could be time to replace the current team with people who care about and have studied established canon stories, who don't want those stories replaced or disregarded. Alternatively, the team could start to welcome advice from fans who could support them in a task that is undoubtedly colossal. Imagine for a second that Lucasfilm developed a program for fans, an online forum, a WhatsApp group, or something where Lucasfilm team could be on the same page with their audience. And avoid more continuity mistakes. There could even be a whole interview vetting process too. This probably won't happen, but what if it did? Help us know how we're doing too, by commenting and subscribing below. Another serious mistake in recent projects has leaving loose ends wherever possible with the excuse that those loose ends can be expanded in a comic, novel, or another show. The Bad Batch was a recent example of this. It had every opportunity to answer a question that's been circulating since 2005's Battlefront 2 game showed a clone rebellion on Kamino. Yet, the creators chose to ignore it completely, and even destroy the cloning facilities on Kamino so that the rebellion couldn't take place in the future. The show also brought back fan favorite Commander Cody, only to have him disappear again without a trace. We were shown Captain Rex and Commander Wolf's first meeting after the war, but we still don't know how they ended up together with Gregor and the ATTE during Star Wars Rebels, or why their attitudes toward the Empire and the Rebellion were so drastically different at that point. The Zilla Beast was cloned, captured, and escaped again, and in the end, no one seemed to care. And what exactly was the Necromancer Project? Come on, we all know it's some sort of explanation for Palpatine's return in Episode 9.
That seems like it makes sense, but it doesn't.
But the truth was revealed off screen, and then the person who was revealed to was killed. When Clone Wars left things unfinished, it was mainly because of its cancellation, but by now those stories really should have been finished, both the main plot and the subplots it carried. Don't get us wrong. We love stories about the clones. But if each attempt to give us closure just leaves us with more open ends, how long is that going to happen?
No more! I can't take it anymore!
Another important point would be not to have more people than necessary assigned to a single project, especially in important positions. Remember that Andor, a 12-episode series, had only a total of 4 writers, while The Acolyte, with 8 episodes, had 10 writers.
So it doesn't make sense.
Andor was embraced by fans who didn't even expect to like the show. And meanwhile, The Acolyte, which was highly anticipated by fans, was rejected to the point that it was cancelled within weeks of ending. So, there must be limits. Otherwise, having so many people involved increases the chances of story losing direction. If one writer has control of a selected group of episodes, the arcs, structure, and storytelling are resolved more cleanly because those episodes aren't trying to cater and compromise to several writers' opinions at the same time. And while we're on the topic of teams, Star Wars has always been about the struggle of good against evil, the underdog versus the big bad villain. The marketing teams for new projects should focus on promoting the story, rather than trying to relate to whatever political movement is currently happening. When writers and directors have done that in recent history, it's only generated dread from fans who just want to forget the real world for a few precious minutes and see what Star Wars has to offer next.
She's a powerful leader. Yes.
We touched on this point in another video, but it's worth emphasizing again because it's important for Lucasfilm to remember those who have been around since day one, almost 50 years ago, and not deliver stories that make those fans feel betrayed. Contradicting and disrespecting the legacy of the original stories to make way for a new generation of heroes who've gotten very little character development in comparison has been a big mistake. Of course, we will always welcome new people to be part of the fandom, but not when they join because of projects that tarnish the image and legacy of the franchise that George created. Witnessing the rise of a new hero is great, but we want to see it. And that just goes back to the basics of storytelling. Show, don't tell. We want to see their struggles, their mistakes, their defeats. Most importantly, we want to see them fight to get back up. Those are the stories that make us better, that inspire greatness. And we think Star Wars is totally capable of telling those stories again. Make sure to check out how you can keep Star Wars alive next.